Nothing breaks you apart like discovering the version of them that you trusted never actually existed. Not because they cheated, not because there was some dramatic scene, chaos, or an obvious betrayal that you could point to, but because one day you realised you were loyal to someone who was never loyal to you in the same way. Betrayal doesn't always look like cheating. Sometimes it looks like they chose everything else over you, while still telling you that you matter. It looks like excuses, half effort, and just enough affection to keep you hoping. And it's a different kind of pain when you realise you were never the priority. It's when they gave you just enough words to make you believe you mattered, while their actions told a different story. Nothing prepares you for the moment you see it clearly, that the version of them that you trusted, the one you defended and the one you built a future around, loved them unconditionally, never really existed the way they made you believe. That grief hits different. It's humiliating and soul-crushing, because you're not just losing a person, you're losing what you believed was real. I know what it feels like to slowly realise you're in something alone. You believed you were building something solid, while the other person was just passing through, using you for their own benefit. To give loyalty like it was sacred and then later find out it was optional to them. There is a very specific kind of heartbreak that happens when you see the truth clearly for the first time, when you realise they were never prioritising you the way you prioritised them, how you rearranged your life and they rearranged nothing. You chose them fully, without hesitation, and they chose you when it suited them. It wasn't cruelty in an obvious form, it was indifference disguised as circumstances. For them it was, work was demanding, life was always stressful, and there was always something else that needed their attention more than you. And because you cared about them, you made room for it. You excused it and you convinced yourself that eventually things would balance out. You just kept on believing in the best version of them. That's the illusion. The illusion isn't that they didn't care at all. It's that you believed they cared in the same way that you do, in how the depth was mutual and the loyalty was equal. You believed the history meant something solid. And when clarity comes, it feels absolutely devastating. Your heart drops and you think, how someone could do such a thing? It feels like your whole body realises at once that you were loving someone at full capacity while they were loving you in fractions, selling you a fantasy the whole time. You were thinking long term while they were thinking convenience. You were protecting the relationship while they were protecting themselves. And when that hits, it's unbearable. Because now you're not just grieving them, you're grieving the future you imagined, the future they said undeniably that they were wanting to create. That version of them you trusted, the safety you thought you had and the love you believed was unconditional. When the truth finally settles in, life carries on around them like nothing ever happened. They continue forward, untouched by the weight and betrayal you're sitting with. While you're left retracing everything in your mind, wondering which moments were genuine and which were fake, that question lingers for a long time. You think to yourself, how did I miss it? I've asked myself that more than once. I've replayed conversations and moments where I felt something was off but chose peace instead. I've replayed the times I accepted being second because I didn't want to seem demanding. That kind of grief doesn't scream, it sinks. It makes you question your judgment, your worth and your ability to trust again, because when the illusion breaks, it feels like the purest part of you broke with it. The part that loves deeply, that believes in connection and that assumes a loyalty when you give loyalty. And maybe that's what hurts the most. Not losing them, but losing the belief that what you had was sacred on both sides. You feel utterly betrayed, manipulated, discarded, and made to feel completely worthless. If you're in that space right now, where the truth has landed and it's heavy, I need you to hear this. You have a pure heart. You are not stupid or blind. You loved honestly and you trusted sincerely. You gave in a way that you would want to receive, And there's nothing shameful about that. The shame belongs to the illusion, not to you. You're not grieving them, you're grieving the version of them you created in your heart, because that's the version that made sense of their behaviour. You're grieving the story you told yourself so the inconsistencies wouldn't hurt as much. You're grieving the hope, and hope is hard to bury. But clarity, as painful as it is not cruelty. It's protection. And one day you'll look back and realise this grief didn't destroy you. Yes, it stripped you of your fantasy, but it sharpened your intuition. It taught you that love without reciprocity is self-abandonment. Right now it feels unbearable. I know. But the part of you that loved deeply, that part is still yours. And one day it will meet someone who doesn't treat it like convenience. Someone who understands that the way you love is rare. That loyalty like yours isn't easy to find, and that depth like yours isn't common. And when you experience being chosen with the same certainty you give, you'll feel the difference immediately. No confusion, no competing with work, ego or excuses, and no wondering where you stand. And when you're finally loved by someone who can hold that, you'll realise something that changes everything. You weren't hard to love. You were just loving someone who didn't have the capacity and the same emotional maturity. And this ending, it wasn't the loss of your future. It was the protection of it. One day you'll look back and realise this didn't break your life. It saved you from being tied to someone who could never rise to meet you. And with that, you are free. Thank you for staying and listening. If this conversation resonated with you, you might also want to check out my other videos. If you'd like to support this space, you can like, comment and subscribe. It genuinely helps this reach other people who might be sitting with the same questions. If you enjoy my content and would like to support the channel, you can leave a little tip via the PayPal link in the description. And if you want to be here for the next conversation, you can turn on notifications. Your support doesn't just help this channel grow, it reminds me that I'm not the only one thinking about these things quietly. And that matters more than you know. Sending you all so much love. Until next time, keep becoming.